We begin in New York, where world leaders are discussing the recent mall massacre in Kenya, the Syrian war, the International Criminal Court, and other top issues at the UN General Assembly. VOA's UN correspondent Margarate has more.
More than 30 national leaders took their turn at the podium Wednesday and attended meetings on many issues. European Union President Herman Van Rompuy spoke strongly about the need to end the Syrian conflict. He said when world leaders met last September, there were 25,000 dead and 250,000 refugees. Today, that has skyrocketed to more than 100,000 killed and 2 million refugees.
We cannot let this spiral of criminal sectarian violence pursue its dreadful course at the heart of the world's most unstable region. What will the situation be when we meet again next year?
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon had lunch with the foreign ministers of Britain, China, France, Russia, and the United States to discuss UN efforts to move toward a political settlement in Syria. They also discussed efforts to inspect and safeguard Syria's chemical weapons. Nearly 24 countries signed the Arms Trade Treaty Wednesday, which will regulate the international trade in weapons. The UN says more than 500,000 people are killed each year by conventional arms. The United States is the world's largest arms exporter, so it was significant that Secretary of State John Kerry was among those signing.
This is about keeping weapons out of the hands of terrorists and rogue actors. This is about reducing the risk of international transfers of conventional arms that will be used to carry out the world's worst crimes.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn, the rotating head of the African Union, spoke about discontent with the International Criminal Court and what the AU sees as its targeting of African leaders.
Instead of promoting justice and reconciliation and contributing to the peace and stability, it has degenerated into a political instrument targeting Africa and Africans. This is totally unacceptable, and that's why Africa has been expressing its serious reservations against the ICC.
Leaders condemned the terrorist attack on the Westgate shopping mall in Nairobi, Kenya, where scores of people were killed by al-Shabaab gunmen. Foreign ministers discussed the crisis in the Central African Republic. UN officials say more than 1.6 million people are in urgent need of assistance there since the government was overthrown by the Seleka coalition in March. The UN said that an appearance by Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir in the General Assembly on Thursday had been canceled. The Sudanese leader is wanted by the International Criminal Court on charges of war crimes and genocide for Darfur and could have risked arrests by traveling to New York. Instead, his foreign minister will address the world body on Friday.
Well, and joining us now from the United Nations is VOA UN correspondent Margarate Bashir. Hello, Margarate.
Hi, Vincent.
Now, so many issues there, but let's zero in on the question of the ICC, which is a major concern for African leaders. Give us some more details on this.
Well, actually, tomorrow here in New York, the foreign ministers of the African countries are going to hold a meeting, and they're going to decide whether they're going to convene an extraordinary session of the African Union on October 13th to deal with this issue. There's been talk that some or all of the African countries that are a party to the ICC may withdraw. Kenya and Rwanda have sort of been leading this charge, trying to gather support for a withdrawal from the court. The Kenyans obviously very upset about the charges against their president and vice president. Rwanda perhaps concerned they could one day face charges over their support to the M23 in the DRC. So we will see on Friday whether there may be sort of a large move among the Africans to withdraw from the court.
And in fact, initially there were people wondering whether Sudan's president, Omar al-Bashir, will actually come to the U.S. to attend the UN General Assembly. So after all, he couldn't make it.
Well, so this has been sort of the big drama around the General Assembly this year. Will he or won't he come? He did not show up yesterday late. The UN confirmed that Sudan had canceled his appearance, that he wasn't going to come, and instead they were sending their foreign minister, who's actually already here, and so he will speak on Friday in the president's place. But we don't know, actually, did the United States give him the visa? Did he not get the visa? You know, the U.S. has to give him a visa theoretically because they're the host country. Did they delay giving him the visa? We don't know. The other issue are the protests in Sudan. Maybe he didn't want to leave home right now.
Yeah, but from what we know, does the U.S. deny somebody a visa because of being an indictee of the ICC?
Well, I don't think they've ever had an indictee of the ICC ask for a visa, so it was a bit of a tricky question. The U.S. did deny a visa to Yasser Arafat once, many years ago, when he was head of the PLO, but to come to the GA. But other than that, I don't think they've ever denied anyone a visa. So they perhaps could have delayed it, or they could have told him, you know, we're going to restrict your movements in New York, and made it unappealing for him to come.
Yeah.
But really, the Americans aren't talking, so we don't know the answer to that.
Very interesting. Maybe we'll know some more later. Thanks a lot, Margaret, for your excellent reporting there. Margaret Bashir, she's a VOA's reporter from the UN, reporting